Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ravenflight channel. Today we are talking about IEM Katowice, the first real big event of the year. We had Blast Spring groups, but it's just groups. This is the first big trophy lift of the year coming up in about 2 weeks. On February the 12th is the grand final. But today I am going to be outlining who I believe are really in contention for the trophy, who can put up a fight, who I think just doesn't stand a chance, and then more importantly, my real actual predictions for the outcome of this event. If you guys like this kind of content, if you want to see more, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment if you have any questions or if you have anything you want to see on this channel. For right now, I'm just going to be focusing on professional Counter-Strike and the big events as we go through the year. Uh, I might broaden the horizons in the future, but right now, that is the focal point of this channel. So, coming into Katowice, out of spring groups, there are a lot of teams who believe they have a chance at this trophy. Not all of them realistically do. I'm going to break down who I think really are contenders, who really could punch up and maybe go the distance, and then who really just don't stand much of a chance and are just kind of here to collect their prize money, build the experience for the team, move on to the RMR. Firstly, to talk about the teams that I really just don't see doing anything. Just to get that out of the way, first of all, Spirit, despite being quarter or semifinalist the last two majors, they looked a little rough in qualifiers. They haven't really played since. I think they might have played in CCT, but I wasn't able to watch much of it. But other than that, I haven't really seen much of Spirit. What I have seen, they look decent, but not really at the level of some of the other teams towards the top end of this event. Secondly, NIP. Brawlin looked insane in qualifiers, but other than that, it was just kind of the same stuff for Blast Spring groups. Config wasn't really adding all that much. He was one of the bottom performers for NIP in the qualifiers, if I remember correctly. I think the top three were Brawlan, Alexi, crazy, and Headtrick. Um, but other than that, I think this is just kind of a we don't have Hampus. We need to get Headtrick more experience if we're going to try and push for what we can, but we're not really going to worry all that much about the outcome of this event. And thirdly, and I my heart hurts putting them here. Complexity. I love this team. I love Grim in particular. He was insane during qualifiers. He was insane at spring groups. They honestly, I could move them up into the next category. They they could genuinely like make you can make an argument for Complexity not deserving to be in this like no chance out as soon as they come in category, but for right now they're staying there. Secondly, we have this category I have labeled could punch up. These are teams that really could make it to playoffs, as kind of an underdog run. I think any of these teams really could, and some of them could even go even further than that. Um, Starting off, we have Big. They just lost this morning to G2. They look really good on Anubis, which makes sense. They lost Dust 2. They need to find another map to not ever not play. Um, then Fnatic. I think Fnatic and OG, who are another team in this category, are on the same kind of level where they really could have a shot at making like quarters, semis, maybe if things go their way. They're really firepower heavy teams. They're really fun teams to watch. On the Fnatic side of things, I think Mezzi's been calling really well. And Roy has been looking really good. Crims has been rolling back the years. On OG, Flames is really freaking good. We've been saying this for ages, but the way he works on T sides, I struggle to think of many players who are better than him, specifically on T sides. Um, and Dexter's always good for 30 kills a map if he wants to. But the next two teams in this category are the ones who I really think stand a chance at really pushing into playoffs if they want to. Firstly, we're going to start with Liquid. I was really disappointed in them coming out of Spring Groups. If you watched my video on Spring Groups, you will know that. I really don't like how they're using OC. I really was disappointed in Yakindar and Alige. But really, if they pull stuff together and show us what they showed us at World Finals, they can make a genuine push for the trophy here. And next is Maus. I love this team. I loved watching them at Rio. The only team they lost to in a best of 3 at Rio was Outsiders, who went on to win the event, as we all know. But I love watching Maus play. I love Exertion. I love Torji. These are players who are going to be around for a really long time, and even though I believe they have a genuine shot at pushing deep into playoffs, they have plenty of time. So I wouldn't be worried at all if these guys don't win it, but that's, a given. Next, and here's where we start talking a little bit more in depth about these teams, are the teams that I believe are fringe contenders, like teams that I wouldn't bet against making semis or even finals. To start off with these fringe contenders, I have Cloud9. They are currently ranked 12th in the world, and they have notable wins in the last 3 months over ENCE, Heroic, Navi, and FaZe. Heroic, Navi, and FaZe were all at Rio. They were all best of ones, to be fair, and they were all really spectacular comebacks, which is kind of a red flag that they're having to make all those comebacks, but also at the same time, it's a real statement on that team's ability and their mental capability as well. And really, the only reason that they're in fringe contenders is because of inactivity and kind of because of those always needing to make a comeback things. And they showed that. They showed that against Navi this morning. Cloud9 are also integrating Buster. I'm not worried about them. I really still think they have a shot at making playoffs. Next, Navi. They are 6th in the world, with notable wins in the last 3 over NIP twice and Heroic. Now, this Navi, if they were any other team, they would be in the rank below fringe contender. Just because of their performance at Spring Groups, it was abysmal. Even though they qualified, it really wasn't good at all. And really, what's getting them into fringe contenders is their ability to bounce back, and also just Simple. You can't build any argument against Simple not just popping off, and he did this morning. It was the first really strong showing on any map besides Overpass that we'd seen from him this year, and it was really, really fun to watch. So Navi really, if Simple keeps showing up, if they can kind of pull things together, they still did look kind of sloppy, I won't lie. Even though they won dominantly, they have a shot at anything. I said before this event to a friend of mine, if I don't know what to think of Navi, I feel like they're either going to go all the way or they're going to go out of groups. So we'll see. And next, finally, in this fringe contenders section, I have Outsiders. They are ranked 5th in the world currently. They are the reigning major champions, and have notable wins over Heroic, Maus, and Fnatic, all at IEM Rio. The reasons that they're here and not the tier above is because of inactivity. They have not played since World Finals. They have not played since adding Chiron to the roster, who a lot of pros are really, really high on, so I'm really excited to see what he does. I remember watching him when he was on Spirit Academy, I think. So I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm kind of not too quick to say that they're going to do anything just because I haven't seen what they're going to play like with Chiron on the team. On to the big boys, on to the teams that I really think have a shot at winning it all. Starting with Heroic, despite the showing, at least at the start of Spring Groups, I still think that this is one of the best teams in the world. This is a team who, in any given CT half, they will push you, they will corner you, and you'll have no choice but to just throw some last-minute execute. And lo and behold, Cadian's already called a gamble stack exactly to the site that you're executing on. They've won 3 of their last 5. They're currently ranked first in the world, 3 of those last 5 being FaZe, Liquid, and G2, all at Fall Finals, the event which they won. And if we're going to talk X Factor, I really think their X Factor is Yabi. I really think Yabi is going to be the difference maker here. If they can just play Vertigo, or if he can really just kind of show up on any other map, I really think that Yabi can be the factor to push this team over the edge. Next, FaZe. Third in the world on a 3-match win streak with notable wins over Liquid at World Finals, G2, and OG. G2 is at World Finals as well, and OG at Spring Brews. Their X Factor, I believe, to be ROPS, which is like crazy, but that's just how stacked this lineup is, if we're being totally honest. We normally see ROPS being a solid, not middle of the pack, but not really top of the pack kind of guy. If he can really start popping off alongside of Twists and Brokey at this event, I don't really think there's anybody that could stop them, 5 times or more out of 10. Third, Vitality, ranked 7th in the world, which is way too low considering how hot they are right now, on a 3-match win streak with notable wins over Na'Vi at World Finals and Astralis and Heroic at Spring Groups. For Vitality, their X Factor really is Spinks. When it comes down to it, it doesn't matter if ZywOo's having crazy tournaments and then Magus, Dupree, and Sprinks are all around 1.05. That's not really a recipe for winning anything, because just the difference between ZywOo and the rest of everybody. If you're playing a team like FaZe or Heroic or the last team, which I'm about to talk about in a second, who all have players who can be popping off, it's not really going to do anything for Vitality. So if Spinks can be there, provide that X Factor, and let ZywOo be ZywOo, while also not having to expect too much from Magisk and Dupree, this team can win anything they want to. And finally, the last team are G2, currently ranked second in the world, on a 7-match win streak. That's where the 7 came from. With notable wins over Na'Vi twice at Spring Groups, Liquid at World Finals, FaZe at World Finals, Vitality at World Finals, and Outsiders at World Finals. Of course, they won World Finals. X Factor for these guys, I think, is going to be JKS. We saw at World Finals, JKS was really doing a lot better than he had at previous events. I think before World Finals, he was averaging like a 0.95 rating or something like that. And then he came into World Finals and averaged like a 1.08, 1.12, something in that range. If he can be consistent, if he can really lock down a site and allow m0NESY and Nico to be fluid through sites on TT sides, if he can really provide steady lurk presence, these guys are unstoppable. We've seen all 3 of the other teams on this list go up against them. The only ones who have wins over them are Heroic at Fall Finals. But since then, they've beat FaZe, they've beat Vitality, they've beat Heroic, they've beat Na'Vi, and they've beat Outsiders. You have every argument in the world to say G2 are the best team in the world right now. You have every argument in the world to say Vitality are as well, I think, or FaZe. But really, when it comes down to it, I think G2 are the best argument. Moving on then to the predictions for the event. I had originally predicted in Group A. So if you don't know how this works, there are 2 groups. And it's a upper and lower bracket. The 2 finalists in the upper bracket progress to the playoffs, and the winner of the lower bracket progresses to the playoffs in each group. So we have 6 teams who go into the playoffs. So 4 of those teams go straight into quarterfinals, and then 2 teams get a bye into the semifinals. Group A, I originally had Cloud9 going second. They very obviously will not be doing that because they lost to Na'Vi this morning. So I had to mix it up a little bit. I think FaZe are a stronger team than Cloud9. And I think FaZe get third. G2 then, in between them and Navi, I trust G2 more, and I don't really see an argument for Navi beating them on this current form. So for Group A, G2 first, Navi second, FaZe third, beating Cloud9 in that lower bracket final. Now, to Group B, I have Vitality placing first, Heroic second, and then Mouse stirring things up a little bit and going through into finals, into playoffs, as the third place team in Group B. That would mean in the playoffs we have quarterfinals of FaZe versus Heroic, and then Navi versus Mouse, with G2 and Vitality getting a bye into semis. In those quarterfinals, I believe FaZe, this is all theoretical at this point, FaZe would beat Heroic. Just on all levels, FaZe are outperforming Heroic individually, team-wise, calling, everything. And then I originally, as I mentioned, I had C9 going through here. I had C9 against Mouse, and I had Mouse beating C9, and I don't think that changes for Navi. So I have Mouse causing an upset and going through into semifinals, which would leave us with semifinals of G2 versus FaZe and Vitality versus Mouse. I believe Vitality, despite how great Mouse can be, the ceiling that they have, I still believe Vitality is to be higher. I think they go through there. And G2 versus FaZe, it really comes down to what individuals are showing up. If you want to talk about map pools, G2s and phases, are very, very similar, with the exception being FaZe Permaban Vertigo, G2 Permaban Overpass, both of those being fairly strong maps in their opponent's pool. If this was to go all three maps, I think G2 take it. I think the depth that they've shown so far on every map they've played, tactically and individually, will outshine FaZe, which would set up a grand finals of G2 and Vitality. And now this is definitely my bias and inhalation of copium. But I believe G2 will win this. Honestly, with the inconsistency that Spinks has shown versus what Monacy and Nico and Hunter over the past 2 years have shown us, and just in terms of consistency, I don't think there's a question. Vitality definitely have a shot, and I wouldn't bet against them, but I believe G2 will walk away Katowice champions. I will be making more content about Katowice as this progresses. I might revisit these predictions come playoff time. But for now, check out my Twitch. I'll leave that link in the description, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.